It will be 20 years ago in July, and the case grows colder by the day. While the world around them moved on, Morgan Violi's family was left with pain and questions. Now her family is speaking out about what happened that summer day.
It's a haunting case because it was such a horrific tragedy. And we all put ourselves in a place of, where's my child? And, as a community, it just drilled down to the core that this could actually happen in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Just after noon, July 24th, 1996.
Morgan and another little girl were walking from a play area that they had just inside some woods back toward Morgan's apartment when the perpetrator grabbed Morgan and put her in a van and drove off with her.
I heard a scream. I came around. He was just sitting in the van. He smiled, and the other little girl was screaming and was going through the apartment buildings. I thought they were playing.
7-year-old Morgan Violi, taken from the same area of her apartment complex that her two sisters were playing in.
When it first happened, I kind of just went to bed on my own and just thought it was a bad dream. But you wake up and there's cops everywhere.
The memories they had before July 24th, 1996 are good ones.
Her smile. She's always smiling.
She was beautiful, friendly,
feisty,
smart. She was the best part of me.
And in an instant, everything changed.
I remember that like it was etched in my brain. I mean, almost every minute of it, Just days like that you don't forget.
We had to grow up at that point. There wasn't a whole lot of playing in that time.
The ongoing weeks and months, Morgan's family had lots of questions. Many of them still don't have answers.
There had to have been two. He drove. I don't see her just
Sitting there.
There had to have been two.
I'm afraid that I've looked that person in the eye since then. Mm-hmm. I'm afraid that person might be a part of my life now, and I don't know it. I saw him. I don't remember what he looked like.
It got hard to think about the good times. I was so angry because the face of a man, it's imprinted in my brain that I can't. He's changed me, he's changed my family. And it's the not knowing for the 3 months and the still not knowing.
3 months later, there was a break in the case.
Well, that was October 20th of that year.
Nearly 20 years later, the barn near where Morgan's body was found is no longer standing. What's still present, though, is the pain her family feels every single day.
He just left her there.
You wanted to obviously find something. Obviously, you did not want to find that. You just keep your hopes open that it wouldn't be that way.
To this day, no one has been arrested in connection with the abduction and murder of Morgan Violi.
He didn't just take her. He took how we were supposed to be mothers.
And sisters.
And sisters and a daughter. He took a lot.
Her sisters Heather and Nikki are now parents themselves. They say sometimes the realization that they've had to continue on is difficult.
It's hard to not know what her kids would be like. We didn't get to see her grow up.
Her family refuses to let Morgan be just another sad story.
She was a beautiful little girl, and something very bad happened to her. And we miss her and all the time, and it doesn't get easier.
The case is still open, and the FBI still follows leads to this day. I talked to a man who was at one time a prominent suspect in this case and spoke with the FBI about someone they looked into more recently, who is behind bars right now for another shocking local murder.
The only reason they never found out what really happened was because they were too busy following me around.
We'll bring you the second part of Morgan Violi's story tonight on WBKO at 10. I tracked down police officers working at the time, as well as the FBI agent on the case. to ask the tough questions in an exclusive interview. The biggest question I ask, is this case any closer to being solved than it was day one?
I lost faith. I've lost the humanity part. But in this journey that I'm in, I have met a lot of wonderful people.
Morgan's mother, Stacy, says one of those people was Special Agent Dick Glenn, the FBI agent who's been with the case from the beginning. And nearly 20 years later, he's still working to solve it.
Does it make it harder to solve the case as time goes on? Probably, but we're not giving up on it.
Once Morgan was kidnapped, speculation began about who could commit a crime like this. One of their top suspects at the time was Morgan's biological father.
I didn't realize I was supposed to be in court that day. That's not why I took off early, because I didn't even know I was supposed to be in court. And that's kind of what made a lot of people think, oh, he was supposed to be in court. His kid turned up missing. And I can understand why people got, especially the way it's presented to them. As soon as I pulled up in there, I knew something was going on, because there was police and just people everywhere. And she came over to me and she said, somebody kidnapped Morgan. And I said, what? They took Morgan, and then she was hysterical.
After he was named a suspect, Glenn's life drastically changed.
I got to the point where I was living in a building out back of my buddy's house because I couldn't find a job. Nobody wanted to work me. Nobody wanted anything to do with me because I was that guy. I lost my grip. What are you supposed to do?
Glenn Violi says even though he was cleared of wrongdoing, it doesn't mean everyone thinks he's innocent.
There were a lot of people who, there's people who still think I had something to do with it.
While some still have doubts about Glenn Violi, his daughters do not.
I understand that people make mistakes. I know that they had problems. Do I blame them? Absolutely not. They didn't physically do it. I definitely know that.
Do I think my dad could do something to her to hurt her? Absolutely not. No. Absolutely not.
The FBI is still working to try to pinpoint who exactly killed Morgan Violi.
That gets harder and harder to establish someone's whereabouts 20 years later.
But they've done their share of local investigating as well.
The incident that happened, obviously just recently in Scottsville, brings back all those memories. And I think most police officers do that. Do they hang on to everything that happens? No, but this is a case that it would be difficult for anybody to let go.
The crime that occurred November 2015 in Scottsville raised lots of questions and comparisons to Violi's case. Morgan's two sisters looked the kidnapper in the eye nearly 20 years ago. They don't believe the two are connected.
I think that I want it to be, but I don't think that it is. I pray that it is, but again, I don't think we'll ever know.
But the FBI says the similarities could not be ignored.
Certainly Timothy Madden is someone you have to take a look at based on the facts of the case that he's been charged with. But aside from that, I can't comment on the specifics of any individual suspect.
Whether or not a suspect is ever arrested, it won't erase the last 19 years.
And I think that there's some people that might say, well, there's a little bit of closure. There's never any closure on this.
There's not anything on earth that we could do to this person. It's not going to bring her back. It's not going to make the last 19 years go away. There's no justice for that.
If you missed part 1 of the Morgan Violi cold case story, you can visit our website, WBKO.com, to find it. Just like all of you at home, we want Morgan's case to be solved. If you have any information on the abduction and murder of Morgan Violi, you can reach the FBI at 270-781-4734. This number will be on our website as well.